Yeah, for paddling in water. That helps you to paddle in water for efficient swimming, and the shorter forelimbs aids in steering. Then the streamlined body of the toad allows it to swim in water freely. Now we'll move on to talk about the adaptation of beaks and feet of some birds. How does certain birds adapt to their environment and the kind of feeding they have to do with their beaks? That's what we'll be looking at now. And the first in the category of birds we'll be looking at is the woodpeckers. The birds called woodpeckers. These birds have long, slender, pointed beaks for picking up insects from the cracks in the bark of trees. As their names imply, you discover that they have to feed from the cracks of trees. They have to pick food from the trees, and insects particularly. So they have to have a very slender and long beak to be able to do this particular function. Then the next category of birds is the auks, the falcons, the kites, and eagles. They are grouped together because they have similar beak. They have powerful curved beak for killing their prey and for tearing flesh from small birds and animals. In the case of the auks, falcon, kites, and eagles, they are carnivores and they need to kill their prey and tear their flesh. So they have powerful curved beaks that will help them to achieve this purpose in their feeding. Then the next group of birds are the ducks. Ducks have serrated head beak for sieving or filtering small food particles from water and mud. Ducks feed, they feed in water. They move around, they enjoy being in water. So they also feed from the water. So they need to sieve or filter food from the water. That is why they have serrated head beak for the purpose of the sieving and filtering of small food particles from water and mud. Then they also have grooved beak for gripping frogs and small fishes, also in water. Then the next group, or the type of beak we'll be talking about, is the one also found in parrots. They have hooked beak for cracking hard seed. These ones are herbivores, so to say, because they have to crack seed. So their hooks have to be powerful to be able to break the hard seed. Then weaver bird. Weaver birds have short, strong, and conical beak for picking up and cracking seeds. So they have short but strong and conical beak to pick up and crack small seed. Then sandpipers are also have a special kind of beak. They have narrow, long beak for probing into mud and sand to reach burrowing worms and mollusks. Just like the woodpeckers, their own beaks too are very long because they have to probe into mud and sand, since they are sandpipers, to reach for food, and their food are basically worms and mollusks from the soil. Now we move on to talk about the feet. How does their feet adapt to their environment? Then the first category of birds with specialized feet that we'll be talking about is the owls, the auks, the vultures, and the eagles. They have the same kind of feet. They have 3 toes directed forward and 1 backward, but they can be bent to meet. Look at the diagram of their feet. 3 toes that are directed forward, then 1 is backward, but the 4 can be bent to meet. Also, they have powerful, their feet are powerful with sharp curved talons for catching and killing their prey, because they are carnivores. So they also, aside from their beak, their legs, their feet too are used in catching and killing their prey. Also, they have claws. You see, very sharp claws to hold their prey. But the next category are the ducks. Ducks have hind toes that are very small. Look at it. Hind toes are very small. Then they also have webbed front toes for swimming and walking on soft surfaces. I said earlier that you find ducks in environments of water, in mud, in places of that you find water, and they feed from the water. So also their feet is adapted for that kind of life. They have webbed front toes. Can you see? Webbed. That is, they are jointed together for swimming and walking on soft surfaces. Then for the domestic fowl, I know you must be conversant with this, you've seen them all around. The domestic fowls have strong feet and blunt claws. These ones don't need a very sharp claw because they're not going to catch any prey. They are going to scratch the surface of the earth to look for seeds and worms. You've seen a fowl scratching the soil just to look for food for itself and for its chicks. So the domestic fowl doesn't need strong or sharp claw for killing any prey. It doesn't kill any prey. It has to scratch the surface of the earth. So the claws are blunt to scratch the earth to look for seeds and worms to eat. Then we'll now talk about the adaptation of birds for flying. Birds have 4 limbs that are modified to form wings for flight. Their 4 limbs are modified to form wings so that they can fly with that. Then their wings, they have wings with feathers to form large surface area. They have light weight because many of the bones are hollow. So the weight of birds are light. They are not heavy. If they are heavy, they won't be able to navigate through the air. Also, their air sacs are connected to the wings to ensure rapid supply of oxygen for efficient respiration. So their air sac is connected to their wings. So in the course of flying, oxygen can be supplied to them richly for efficient respiration. Their air sac streamline also provide buoyancy for them in air. Also, they have streamlined body for easy movement through the air. Also, they have powerful chest muscle for propulsion. Then they have key-like sternum for attachment of pectoral or flight muscles. Then their skeleton is fused on the back and breast to give rigidity. They have fused skeleton on the back and their breast to give rigidity. We'll now be talking about conservation of natural resources. How do we conserve our natural resources? Conservation of natural resources simply means the wise use and management of natural resources for present and future use to preserve the original nature of the environment. The appropriate and wise use of natural resources for present and future use, and to preserve the original nature of the environment. And the various natural resources to be preserved include our natural forest and vegetation, the wildlife, that's the animals, our water, and our mineral resources. We need to manage these natural resources so that we can be able to use them for present use and even for future use. Then that we will be able to preserve what we have originally in nature. Then first we'll be talking about conservation of wildlife. Conservation of wildlife, that is the animals, ensures continuous source of meat, especially animal protein. If the animals are well kept, we don't misuse them, we don't just kill them anyhow and waste them away, there is assurance of continuous meat for us to eat, especially the animal protein. Also, wildlife provides source of raw materials such as hide and skin for industries, hide and skin used in making leather for your bags, shoes, and what have you. Then also, conservation of wildlife preserves natural species for scientific studies. When they are kept, the animals are kept in place, there can be research that can be undergone on various animals and things like that. That's why I was able to talk about conservation, about adaptation of some birds. If those birds have gone into extinction, nobody will have been able to research and find out, okay, they have sharp claws or they have blunt claws for this particular kind of feeding. So when we conserve our wildlife, we are able to conduct more research on them. Also, conservation of wildlife boosts our tourism and recreation, e.g. the Yankari Game Reserve that we have in Bauchi State of Nigeria. So people will come from all over to come and see and enjoy themselves and even relax, and which will serve as a source of income for the state or for the environment where we have such. Then we talk about conservation of water. Conservation of water ensures continuous supply of source of drinking and for food preparation. You know, we can survive for some days without food, but not without water. So when we conserve our water, it gives us assurance of continuous source of drinking and for our food preparation. Also, conservation of water ensures source of water for irrigation and agricultural practice. You know, it's not all the time of the year that you have water. Then also, it's not in all places. Then some water, the water requirements for some plants are different, that you have to do some artificial addition of water, that is irrigation. So when our water is conserved, they can be available for such agricultural practices. Also, conservation of water provides source of water for domestic use, bathing, cleaning up, washing, cooking, and the like. So water is assured for you to do your domestic activities when we conserve them. Also, conservation of water serves as source of hydroelectric power